What's going on, guys? This is Talking Sports Podcast with Adam and Alec. This is episode 15. I'll go through a quick rundown of this week's episode. So first off, we're going to talk about the NFL. We picked out three key games that we think are big games for this coming weekend. Along with the NFL, we're going to talk about the playoff picture. If the season were to end today, who would be playing who would be seated where, and we'll kind of give predictions for the playoffs and for the Super Bowl. Then we're going to transition into college football. It's conference championship week. A lot of big games going on this week. A lot of big games with playoff implications as well. So we'll have a lot to talk about there, as well as some crazy coaching changes going on already here as we transition into bowl season, close to bowl season. And Lincoln Riley's a traitor. I'll throw that out there before we get started here. But then after that, we'll dive into the MLB with some crazy offseason free agency moves going on right now, and the threat and possibility of a lockout that could be happening as close as midnight tonight. So that's a brief rundown, and we'll get started here with the NFL. You want to talk about the three games we picked?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've had a podcast. Had some stuff going on Thanksgiving last week. So we've missed a little bit in the NFL to catch up. The Rams don't really look as good as we thought they would with all those pickups they had. But the three games that Adam picked out this week, we got Dallas versus New Orleans, New England versus Buffalo, and the Los Angeles Chargers versus Cincinnati. Should be the best three games on a schedule this week. We try to pick those out every week. Starting with Dallas and New Orleans, it's in New Orleans. Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite. Dallas hasn't looked as strong, I guess, recently. Coming off a Thanksgiving loss against Oakland.
Vegas.
Or Vegas.
You're good.
Las Vegas. It's just natural.
Yeah.
They were penalized, but how many times was it? Because it was a lot of penalties that game.
It was 28 total.
28
both teams.
Yeah, that was an insane game on Thanksgiving afternoon. Adam, what's your take on this game?
Well, as a diehard Cowboys fan, the last couple of weeks have been kind of frustrating. We started off the season 6-1, and here we are sitting at 7-4. Couple rough weeks the last couple. A big key to that has been not having Amari Cooper the last two games, as well as CeeDee Lamb being out the last 1.5 games. I guess he played the first half against the Chiefs and then got the concussion and was out the rest of the game. But having those two guys out has been a huge loss to our offense. If you watch the game against the Chiefs, we couldn't move the ball at all. If you watch the game against the Raiders, we couldn't move the ball at all till the second half. Then we started to get in rhythm. But it's been frustrating. I thought the defense played awesome against the Chiefs, only giving up 19 points to one of the best offenses, but the offense couldn't do anything. With all that being said, Amari Cooper and CD are both activated for tomorrow night's game. CD coming off the concussion, and then Amari coming off being on the COVID list. So I expect them two to be a huge factor for our offense. The Saints looked awful on Thanksgiving. I don't know if you watched that game, but it was terrible. Yeah, they looked awful. I expect the Cowboys to get back in rhythm. Here's we're getting closer to the playoffs. Let's start climbing up that mountain again and keep getting better every week. Another big player, Demarcus Lawrence, is back for the Cowboys tomorrow night. He's been out since week 1. He broke a bone in his foot week 1, and now he's back. So that's a huge key for our defense as well. I'm taking the Cowboys 31-21.
I'm taking Dallas 24-17. And you mentioned a couple weeks back they were playing Kansas City. And we haven't been able to talk about Kansas City, but before, I think it was our last episode, we said don't let Kansas City figure out their rhythm. I think they might have figured it out.
They did in that game against us.
Yeah, they don't look dominant, so to speak, but they're finding ways to win.
Yeah.
And they're sitting as a 5th seed in the AFC right now. So they definitely I feel like they're starting to turn around. They might be pretty dangerous come playoffs in 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And
And I agree. That's a team you would not want to play in the playoffs with their experience and coaching. Like, you do not want to play them in January.
All right, so we both took Dallas that game. Next game we have old Belichick and New England versus Buffalo. New England, it's weird. Different quarterback, kind of the same results.
I know.
I mean,
They're on a 6-game win streak right now.
yeah. With
Mac
the rookie
Jones is
quarterback,
balling.
yeah. And not many people thought he would go in the first round. Because you had all the top quarterbacks like Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, or Zach Wilson. So he's kind of the afterthought, but Belichick took him. Really playing solid ball up there in New England. Buffalo comes in a 2.5-point favorite. What is your take on this game?
Well, like we just talked about, the Pats are on a hot streak right now with a rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, on fire. Their defense is playing well, causing turnovers. On the other side, Buffalo, they're the Bills, but they've had some struggles this year, losing some games they shouldn't have. Kind of like the Cowboys, where just not playing how they should be the last couple of weeks, even though last week they dominated the Saints on Thanksgiving. That looked like the normal Buffalo Bills.
Did. There was
Go
I
ahead.
think maybe in the third quarter, Josh Allen, from what I thought I heard, that was his first interception in the red zone in his entire career.
Oh, wow. I didn't
I
realize
don't know
that.
if I heard that right or not, but I heard that and I kind of that caught my attention. I don't know if I heard it right or not. But if that's the case, he's been in the league. This is third year, I think. Third or fourth
third
year.
Mm-hmm.
So protecting the ball in the red zone is really key.
That's huge.
So, yeah, Buffalo coming off of a big win over New Orleans. New England coming in 6 games in a row. Did you give a prediction on this one?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
This is the Monday Night Football game. The game is in Buffalo.
Mhm.
Those fans are psycho.
For sure.
It's going to be a primetime night game. That place is going to be rocking. Bills Mafia is going to have an impact on this game. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Bills in a close one, 28-24. This is a huge game for their division.
Mhm.
The winner of this game, I'm going to say, will win the division at the end. So this is huge. Man, I struggle to pick against New England because they're on such a hot streak right now, but a rookie quarterback, even though he's stellar, going into that environment for the first time, really, that's why I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to take New England. A couple of weeks ago, we had New England versus Cincinnati. I think I took Cincinnati. I'm sticking with New England this time. I got them 24-20. I think Mac Jones has another phenomenal game. He takes care of the ball so well.
Yeah.
He's making great reads. I think defense will step up and force a turnover or two. I'm going New England 24-20. The last game on the slate is the Chargers and Cincinnati. A couple of young quarterbacks having pretty good years. Cincinnati team that's kind of caught the league by storm early in the year. Kind of cooled down lately, but still sitting as a 4 seed right now in the AFC. What's your take on this game?
I think this is going to be a really big game. The Bengals have looked really good recently. They had a couple slip-up games, but last week they beat the Steelers 41-10. That's a huge rivalry, and they've beaten the Steelers twice this year. I don't even know the last time when Cincinnati's beaten the Steelers twice in 1 year. I'm sure it's been a long time since that has happened. The Bengals sitting at 7-4. I mean, when's the last time the Bengals were 7-4? So like they're having a great season. The Chargers are 6-5. They're in a stacked division, the AFC West, with the Chiefs, Broncos, the Raiders. That division is very tight right now. So the Chargers need every win they can get if they want to squeeze into the playoffs. I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I'm taking the Bengals 28-21.
I'm taking Cincinnati 17-14. I think Cincinnati is the better team slightly. I think it's going to be a really tight game. But yeah, Cincinnati 17-14 rounds out our picks. Do you have any other games you want to talk about, or you want to go to the playoff picture?
I think we're good. I expect all these games to be good games, tight games. We might get surprised. It's the NFL, but I expect all three of these to be must-watch games this weekend.
And you mentioned Dallas was Thursday night,
Yeah, that's tomorrow night's game.
and then New England's Monday night.
Yes.
Okay. So playoff standings or playoff picture as of right now in the AFC, we have Baltimore as the 1 seed, and you have New England would be taking on the Rams as the 2-7.
Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers. Sorry, for some reason I wrote the Rams. It'd be Chargers. Yeah, New England would take on the Chargers as a 2-7. Tennessee would be taking on Buffalo as a 3-6, and then Kansas City would be taking on Cincinnati as the 4-5. All three of those games are solid games. I think probably all of them are one-score games. Do you have your projections on those 3 games?
All I'm saying is the NFL playoffs are going to be wild.
Mhm.
Absolutely insane. I'm totally looking forward to it. Like you said, all these games are going to be close. I would think the Pats. I don't know if I can give score predictions right now, but I would think the Patriots would beat the Chargers. This Tennessee game is intriguing me because there's talks that Derrick Henry could return for the playoffs.
Right.
So if Derrick Henry returns fully healthy somewhat and good to go, then that's a whole different Tennessee team against a Buffalo team that should be higher than they are right now, So that's kind of a toss-up game for me. We'd have to see the rest of the next 4 or 5 weeks to see if Buffalo is going to turn out to who they should be for me to pick that game. But if they played today, I'd take Tennessee. And then I would take Kansas City against the Bengals. The Bengals don't have any playoff experience. Nothing against them. They've had a great year. But Kansas City's coming off being in the last 2 Super Bowls. They know how to win in January, so I would take the Chiefs.
And I agree with all 3 of those picks with New England, Tennessee, Kansas City, which if those 3 teams were to win, it would then set up Baltimore versus Kansas City and New England versus Tennessee in the division round, which I would lean towards Baltimore in that game. I feel like they're playing really well. Their defense, I feel like it come up with enough stops against Kansas City to give them a really good shot to win. And then I would take New England over Tennessee. There's something about Bill Belichick.
I agree.
In the playoffs. And if Mac Jones can continue to take care of the ball and the defense plays how they are, they can make a really deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're very capable of making a run.
And then, did you agree with that, or do you want to switch one of your picks?
I would think Kansas City would. It was Kansas City, Baltimore, right?
Yes.
I would take Kansas City.
And then New England, Tennessee.
New England will win.
So that would set up New England and Kansas City for you. I'd have Baltimore, New England. Who would you pick in your finals?
Man, if it was that, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I would take the Chiefs. Just with if they go on that much of a hot streak, winning those 3 games in the playoffs, I think the Chiefs would get it done.
And then mine would be Baltimore, New England. I'd take New England because I feel like Lamar has been prone to turn the ball over really quite frequently this year.
Yeah.
He's coming off, a 3 interception game this past week?
It was an ugly game.
Yeah, so, and that wasn't the first time he's thrown multiple interceptions in a game. So I think New England's defense could really shut down Lamar and Baltimore's offense just enough to give New England the AFC championship. The NFC playoff picture looks as Arizona is the 1 seed. Green Bay versus Washington would be the 2-7. Tampa Bay versus San Francisco would be the 3-6. And Dallas versus Los Angeles Rams would be the 4-5. These 3 games I had Green Bay beating Washington pretty easily because Chase Young's out for the year now.
Yeah.
That defense takes a step backwards. They might not even be in the playoff picture by then.
Right.
I got Tampa Bay beating San Francisco.
I agree with that.
I feel like Tampa Bay is one of those teams, they just kind of coast through the year, and then in playoff time they really step it up.
Yep, they kick it in high gear in January.
Then Dallas versus the Rams. I would take Dallas based off how the Rams are playing right now. Obviously, that game could go either way, depending on what the Rams end up being.
You know who I'm taking in that game.
I know who you're taking.
It's obvious, and it would be a home field advantage for Dallas as well. So
Yes, as of right now, it would be.
so that would set up second round, Arizona, Dallas,
Yes.
then Green Bay and the Bucks.
Yes. Couple really good games there.
Really good games.
I would take Arizona. I know you're taking Dallas, but I'd take Arizona.
Especially if Kyler Murray's not healthy. I mean, if Kyler Murray's still banged up, Cowboys will win that game easy. If Kyler Murray's there and healthy, Hopkins is back, that could be a nightmare for us. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Then Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Green Bay is such an easy team to pick because of how they're playing. But we mentioned a couple episodes, it's like, when do you catch your hot streak? Do you catch it in the middle of the season, or do you catch it at the end? And I think Tampa Bay is going to catch it right at the end of the year. I think they're going to ride it into the playoffs. So I'd take Tampa Bay in the playoffs, going up to Lambeau, beating Green Bay.
So this is the last dance for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
Is it though?
There's talks. It might be. But I think Green Bay gets revenge for losing in the conference championship to them last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I would take Green Bay in that game. There's some bad blood between those teams. I'm taking Green Bay.
Green Bay has played
Brady
really well recently, and they're such an easy team to pick, like I said.
Yes, they are.
That would set up Dallas, Green Bay for you, and Arizona, Tampa Bay for me. I would take Tampa Bay in mine because of the experience. I'm assuming you would take Dallas in yours.
Well, I mean, as a fan, yes, the Cowboys, but realistically, if we can even make it this far, I don't know. Probably Green Bay. Like a realistic pick, it would be Green Bay.
And then yours, who'd you pick in the AFC? I forgot.
Chiefs.
Chiefs, that would be Chiefs. Packers for you, being realistic, being a fan of Chiefs.
Cowboys. Yeah.
I'd have New England, Tampa Bay.
That would be insane.
That would be something to see. I was writing down like, there's a possibility.
Okay, I kind of hope that happens.
That would be insane, dude.
That would be crazy.
But at some point, Mac Jones has to run into that rookie moment.
Yeah.
I feel like the Super Bowl against Tom Brady would be that rookie moment for him.
That probably would be.
So I'd probably take Tampa Bay to go back to back. I'd love to see Mac Jones do it, but I don't know.
In my realistic pick with the Green Bay and Kansas City, I would take Green Bay.
I think Green Bay is the favorite as of right now, based how they're playing right now, obviously.
I think Green Bay's the better team if it were that matchup. Mm-hmm. Even though how good the Chiefs are, I think Green Bay would have the tools to go win it all.
Any other NFL subject you want to talk about?
Go Cowboys. Hopefully we get back on track this week. That's all I got to say.
All right, so we're going to transition over into what has been a very hectic 3 weeks in college football. Last episode we spoke on OU and Baylor, which sick and Bears because we booty stomped them. Won by 13 on a last second field goal. That there was purpose behind that field goal. Not a lot of people understood in the moment, but the field goal, if OU were to lose to Iowa State but beat OSU, that'd set up a 3-way tie, and Baylor would own the tie against OU. Fast forward, OSU beat OU, tie didn't matter. Kind of gave Lincoln Riley that 3-point loss. going to the Pac-12. Adam looks a little upset.
Yeah, not happy about the Baylor game. I mean, y'all were the better team.
Now, it was
As
such
frustrating
it was
as
a
frustrating
weird,
as it is, y'all were the better team.
it was a weird atmosphere being there because I don't think anyone expected, or anyone in the stadium, because I was there, I don't think anyone had that feeling of like, we're going to lose this right away, because it was 7-7 at half, I think. Like, it was really low scoring, and that's what we thought we could win in because our defense is so good. But then the fourth quarter happened and it started getting away from y'all, especially on that long run by Abram Smith. At that point, everyone, like, we knew what was going to happen. And then the last second timeout and this storming the field twice, and Lincoln Riley sitting on midfield on the kick. It's very nice to be there. Very fun. Great first game in Waco for me. Great time. I had to do this because last time, you got the upper hand.
Yeah, you're right.
I had to drive home 3 hours with you.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So I had
After
to do
we just won the Big 12, so
yeah. Well, now we're playing for the Big 12.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the coaching stuff after the important stuff. The second to final playoff rankings came out last night. Georgia stayed number 1. Michigan moved up to number 2. Kind of what I feel like we both expected after that stomping of Ohio State.
Great game, by the way.
Bama stayed 3. It's kind of weird considering they went to triple overtime with an Auburn team that was on their backup quarterback who was injured during the game also. Cincinnati stayed 4. I could see them be going up to 3 because of the Alabama game. Oak State goes up to 5 after the Bedlam win. Notre Dame 6. Ohio State drops down to 7. Ole Miss 8. Baylor 9. Baylor drops after beating a 6-6 Tech team by 3. Alabama stays put after a triple overtime win against Auburn. Does that in any way deter Baylor if things go right from going to the playoffs, even though they'd be a 2-loss conference champion?
In my opinion, Baylor's out of contention. Yeah. Even with the conference championship win, I think the highest they could get would be a 5 or 6. I don't think they'll slip in. Hopefully Baylor does win the Big 12, so OSU doesn't. But speaking about Alabama, it is the SEC factor. It's the big name program, Nick Saban factor. Although I don't normally defend Alabama, but it was the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen in that game. It's like Bedlam. It's like the Red River Showdown. No matter what happens, anything can happen in those crazy rivalry games. So in that sense, I do defend Alabama, that it was a crazy rivalry game. They found a way to win on the road. It's hard to win. It's hard to win on the road in college football, So in that sense, I defend Alabama, and I think they're fine at being number 3.
So with Brian Kelly, I know we talk about this later, leaving, does that knock Notre Dame out? Because one of the criteria factors was the ability of a performance decrease going forward into the playoffs was highlighted. They're without their head coach. That's a performance decrease, in my opinion.
I agree. And we all saw what happened last year when Notre Dame got put in the playoffs. They got spanked. Notre Dame does not belong in the playoffs.
No. So I'll just mark them out because I'm going somewhere with this. Okay.
All right.
We'll get there. Ohio State out. 2-loss non-conference champion. They're out.
Ohio State's
Ole Miss out as well.
Out.
So the possibilities, you got the top 4, obviously, OSU and Baylor all playing this week. Let's say crazy happens. Houston beats Cincinnati. Cincinnati out. Georgia needs to stomp Alabama. Not by a little, but like a lot.
Yeah.
And then Baylor needs to beat OSU. That, my friend, leaves us with Georgia, Michigan, Baylor, and possibly Oregon.
That would be the only way Baylor could get in if
There's a chance.
that one scenario.
I don't think it'd be Oregon though. I think it'd be Notre Dame. I think they just slide
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
They would
There's a
slide
chance.
Notre Dame in.
Ole
Since
Miss.
Oregon has 2 losses already, right?
Yeah, they do actually have 2 losses, and they play in the conference championship. So there'd be a couple 2-loss conference champions. Ole Miss doesn't play; they're not going to move up at all.
Right.
So there's a slimmer of hope. Okay,
There's a shot.
maybe even if Iowa beats Michigan, I don't see it happening,
Yeah.
but there's a chance.
There
Speaking
is a
of
chance.
conference championship games, let's get into our pick'em of the week. We'll start off in the. Did you ever do ACC, or do you just want to skip ACC because ACC?
Nah, start with Big 12. Start at home.
No. We got to start.
You want to do Big 12
We got to
last?
start week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best one. We'll start in the weakest conference, the Pac-12, Oregon and Utah. Utah has been very quiet. They started Charlie Brewer early in the year, and he transferred out. So I haven't really stayed up with Utah. It's just been kind of weird that they're still in the conference championship after having a guy start the first couple games, not really have a ton of success, but I guess they didn't do terrible because they're in the conference championship.
Wasn't it 2 years ago? Wasn't the Pac-12 championship Oregon Utah when we were on the way to the Big 12 championship?
I think it was.
And
we were.
I don't remember who won.
Oregon
won because
Utah
Utah was 5 and OU was 6, I think, or something like that.
Utah might have been 4, and OU Baylor was 5 and 6.
I think you're right. Yeah.
We almost had a repeat this year, dude.
Yeah.
We almost had a repeat.
Almost.
But Oregon, Utah 3-point favorite. I'm picking Utah based off of Oregon hasn't really looked great all year. Got Utah 35-27. Don't know much about them, but I know enough to pick them over Oregon just because Oregon doesn't look great.
I think this will be a big game. I think it's going to be a close game. I can't go against the Ducks. They've won the last 2 Pac-12 championships. Cristobal's a great coach. They know how to win this game. Go Ducks. I'm taking the Ducks 38-28.
We will then move to the second worst conference, Michigan and Iowa in the Big Ten championship. Michigan coming off of a dominant performance over Ohio State. Iowa coming. I don't know. Iowa did not speak honestly.
They won. That's all I know.
They won, but I don't
think it was a big game.
Iowa's quarterback talking a little bit of trash going into this game, kind of directing his trash talk toward the Big 12, saying he's not going to get 4.5 seconds in the pocket like you would in the Big 12. Just funny because the time he played the Big 12 team, he got sacked quite a few times. So I don't know what he's trying to accomplish with that, but Michigan does have a couple of excellent pass rushers on the edge.
Yes, they do.
Michigan is an 11-point favorite going into this game, which is the highest among the conference championship games that we picked. I'm going Michigan 31-10. I think they continue it. They know they're in the playoffs. All they got to do is win.
Yep.
I think they're going to come out, dominate Iowa, focus on it. Harbaugh's got a really good team. I don't expect too much of an issue for Michigan this week.
I know we're talking about this week conference championships, but for 1 second, Michigan beating Ohio State.
Huge.
The first time since 2011.
And it wasn't just beating Ohio State.
No, stomping.
You had a dude go off running the ball.
Yes.
Went off.
Michigan is that old school pound the rock football team, and they do it well. They do it well.
Very well. And that was huge seeing how bad they beat Ohio State, handing Ryan Day his first ever Big Ten loss. So,
which is insane.
Very impressive. Both.
And Michigan, I love Michigan's defense. Their defensive line is so good. They pursue the football, they make tackles, and they just dominate Ohio State, who has a great offense.
For sure. I mean, CJ Stroud getting his first taste of the big game, but still. I think if anyone was to challenge Georgia this year, looking at it now, it would be Michigan.
I think you're right
But I
about
feel like
that.
they didn't get enough attention earlier in the year because it's Michigan. But looking what they've done, especially last week, they look like the real deal.
Yes, they do. I'm taking Michigan 38-24 in the Big Ten title game.
Okay. We'll move on to the SEC. Georgia versus Bama. Georgia coming in 6.5-point favorites over an Alabama team that hasn't looked like Alabama this
No,
year.
they haven't.
Bryce Young, he looks good. He doesn't look phenomenal. But this Alabama team as a unit just doesn't look like a Nick Saban Alabama team.
This is a huge game.
It is.
Obviously, Alabama already has one loss on the season, losing to A&M earlier this season. So this is obviously a must-win game for them. They got to win this game if they want to get in the playoffs. And if Bama finds a way to win, then obviously both of them are going to be in the playoffs.
Would that then set up a 2-3 matchup between them?
I don't know how they would do that.
I don't think you put Bama at 1 over Michigan if they win.
No.
I don't think you drop Georgia to 4. And you're not going to drop Bama from 3 to 4. So I can see that
it would probably be a 2-3 matchup, yeah.
Be weird.
Georgia has been so dominant this year, though. Both sides of the ball. Like you said, Alabama struggled at times. I think it's going to be close, a close game. This game is always close, the SEC championship. I'm going to take Georgia 35-31.
I got Georgia 31-17. I think Georgia's defense is too good for this Alabama offense. I think Georgia's offense is going to get just enough, make it a two touchdown game. I wouldn't say it's a 2-touchdown game the whole time. I think they get a late touchdown to make it a 2-touchdown game. But definitely have Georgia winning this. And that defense of Georgia is just so good.
Their defense has dominated the whole season. I saw a stat that they're giving up like 6.9 points per game. That is unheard of in college football. Unheard of. Unheard of in any level of football, from Pee Wee all the way up.
If they're playing
absolutely ridiculous.
12 games and only allow 7 points max a game, that's only 84 points a year.
I know. Yeah.
That is insane. So we got 2 Big 12 championship games, the future Big 12 and the current Big 12. The future Big 12 got Houston versus Cincinnati. Houston has been quiet. Their one loss has come to Texas Tech, and that was early in the year. Cincinnati is a 10.5-point favorite. If Cincinnati were to lose, I could see this game being the one they lose. Because
I agree.
Houston's been so under the radar all year. No one really gives them the attention or credit that I feel like they probably deserve. I think this might be the second best game of the weekend. Saying that, I still got Cincinnati 42-28 just because I want to see Cincinnati in the playoffs, get a non-Power 5 in the playoffs for the first time in playoff history. What do you got on this game?
Cincinnati knows what's at stake. They know they got to win to get in. They got to take care of business. I really like their quarterback, the Ritter kid, and I love their coach. I think their coach is awesome, and he's really turned around their program and made them a winning program. Like you said, Houston kind of crept in there. No one's talked about them. They haven't been in the media, but they're sitting here in the conference championship game. Anything can happen in a conference championship game. But I think Cincinnati takes care of business. I'm taking Cincy 28-14.
That leaves us with the final game of the weekend, or really the first game of the weekend. You have Oklahoma State versus Baylor. Baylor coming in 10-2, OSU coming in 11-1. OSU is a 5.5-point favorite. This game is going to be a low-scoring game. I feel like both defenses are insane. One thing to point out before make our picks: Terrell Bernard did not play in Stillwater earlier this year. He is active this weekend. Also notable, we don't know the status on Gary Bohannon.
I was just about to ask you about that.
For those people that are maybe watching this podcast before, Gary Bohannon a couple weeks ago up in Kansas State pulled his hamstring. Last week we had our backup Blake Shapen play. Kid's got a strong arm. He doesn't have the mobility that Gary provides, so I feel like that makes us a little bit more one-dimensional. I think if everyone's healthy, like we're hoping they are, I got Baylor 17-13. I feel like because we made Spencer throw 3 interceptions the first time we played.
Yeah.
We had a terrible game plan. Even Dave Aranda said that going after the game. They weren't prepared. I don't think he makes the same mistake twice. I think Baylor wins it, Big 12 champions. Outside shot at the playoff, like I said earlier, if everything goes right, possibility.
I like Baylor. I like Baylor in this matchup as well. Baylor's been in this game before 2 years ago. They got experience in the Big 12 championship. OSU's never been there. OSU will not get bailed out by refs in the Big 12 championship. If you can't tell, I'm not happy about that. But I'm taking Baylor in a close one. I'm taking Baylor 31-24.
You think our offense capable of hitting 31 up?
I think so. I got faith.
Let me look at the score of that first time we played. It was, I want to say 24-14. Because they beat us by 10, we beat y'all by 13, and that's why we kicked that field goal.
We just dropped 30 on OSU with the struggle.
24-14 the first time through. Notable stats: Gary only threw 173 yards. Abram Smith had 10 carries for 97 yards. Our leading receiver was Drew Estrada, which is, I would say, our slot guy. I think we're better offensively now than we were back then. I still think it's defensive battle, like I stated. But
the big key to attack this OSU defense is getting your run game going, because they can sit back and they have really good coverage. They have a great front seven as well. But if you can eliminate that pass rush by opening your run game, breaking off some big runs, OU started having success when they started breaking off in the run game last week. So I think the key for y'all would be to get the running game going, which will open up the pass game. And then obviously you got to play solid defense. Spencer Sanders sucks. He's going to throw you the ball. So just make sure your guys are ready to make plays, because he's going to throw you the ball.
Yeah, he proved that the first time they played, throwing 3 interceptions. So I think Aranda has a better game plan. They're going to pound the ball a lot often. Smith's going to have a big day. Ebner's going to have a big day. If Gary's healthy, he'll have probably 80 yards on the ground. It's setting up. I'm excited.
Oh, I bet you are.
Very excited. Second time in 3 years. It's weird how 2 years ago we had one coach. This year we have a different coach. It's just weird, the quick rebuild.
Oh, yeah.
So speaking of rebuilds, OU.
Let's just say
coaching
it's been a rough. It's been a rough week. That's all I'm gonna say.
It has been a rough 24 hours. Sunday for y'all.
Yep.
So Saturday night, Bedlam. Early Sunday morning, USC. Riley states that all happened after the OSU game. There's been a lot of belief that it actually started happening during the bye week when he missed the first Tuesday press conference that he usually does.
Yep.
You're the OU fan. I'll let you take this in a way.
Well, Mr. Lincoln Traitor Riley has decided to go coach the USC Trojans in the Pac-12. My whole thing on this, he's just scared of the SEC and just took all of our 5-star recruits with him to go play in California and win a cupcake conference every year. It's really frustrating knowing that this whole season has basically been a waste for OU, knowing that his mind has been somewhere else. Like, get that crap out of here that you first heard from them on a Zoom call Sunday morning. We know that's not true. Like, I know you got to say that to make yourself look good because you have a huge ego, obviously, but like literally that's not true. We all know that that's not possible. They've been in your ear for a long time, or you've been in their ear. Like something's been going on for a good amount of time now. And it honestly makes a whole lot of sense with OU struggles and with the leadership of Lincoln and this whole season. It's just kind of frustrating to see how it's all coming to a crashing end. But the most famous man in Oklahoma right now, Mr. Bob Stoops, is taking the reins, which I'm really excited about because I've always loved Bob Stoops. So hopefully he can coach us to a bowl game win. But back to Lincoln Riley, I'm not happy with it at all. And obviously he's taking all our recruits and everyone's decommitting. Everyone's going to leave. So this is, like you just said, this is going to be rebuilding for OU. Hoping for a big time coach. We're going to get a big time coach. We're a big name program. But yeah.
Let me play Lincoln Riley advocate here real quick. So you're saying he's scared of SEC. What if he feels like the athletic state of OU is not ready for the SEC?
And that could be. I agree with you, and that could be why he doesn't think we're ready to compete for the SEC. Which, if that was the case, I feel like he should have done a harder job trying to not make us go to the SEC than what did. So I know it's all about money. It's dumb. All they care about is money, and that's the only reason they're going to the SEC.
And then the other thing I would point out, saying he didn't think OU was ready for the SEC, maybe he's trying, because USC was once a powerhouse program in the mid-2000s. You had Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer went there. Once really dominant. Maybe he wants to restore that USC dynasty.
Yes, I think that's definitely his goal of going there. But I hope they go 0-12 and everyone, all his 5-star recruits say, oh, Lincoln sucks and leaves. We all know that's not going to happen, but hopefully Oregon can still run the Pac-12.
Back to OU real quick. Rattler officially in the transfer portal. Stogner,
Yep.
Hazelwood, Mims.
I don't think Mims is official yet, but there's talks of it. So it's probably coming in the next couple of days.
Was there another receiver that was in the portal? I thought I missed one.
Oh, yeah, Weiss, yeah.
So you're banking on Caleb Williams. Do you think he stays, or do you think
he's gone?
Do you think he follows Lincoln to SC because Lincoln carried that 5-star quarterback commit with him?
Man, that's a tough choice. I mean, I feel like if he's smart, he would go to USC. You've seen how Lincoln Riley has paved the way for quarterbacks to go to the NFL. As much as I can't stand him now, I have to give him respect for that. A big part of those guys' success, of Kyler, Baker, Jalen, all those guys, is because it's. I mean, obviously they're out there playing, but Lincoln Riley's had a huge part in their success.
So your top 2 quarterbacks gone. Who's the third guy? Who would that leave you with, if you know?
I don't even know.
Well, there's a talk of a transfer guy in Norman this afternoon by the name of Charlie Brewer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Another rumor I heard
around.
Another rumor I heard was if Venables, which is who I hope OU gets, if Venables comes from Clemson, that DJ, I can't say his last name.
You think DJ would leave Dabo?
I don't know.
I could see if it was the offensive coordinator, if Venables was the offensive coordinator, but Venables is a defensive guy. I don't know if he could bring an offensive guy
like I said, those were just weird rumors. There's no people just making stuff up probably. But
that would be insane if you'd be able to get DJ, because then Caleb could leave.
Yeah.
But like we talked about before, I feel like OU has to hit on this hire.
Yes.
Not hire, you go to the SEC. What, next year? Well, not this year, coming up the year after.
Yeah, right? 23.
I mean, you go in there with a downgrade coach that could spell bad for you.
Yes.
Just look at Nebraska. They Big 12 pretty good. Go to the Big 10. Haven't had success.
We need a big time coach that's going to be able to recruit well and knows how to play defense, defensive minded coach. That's why I want Venables to prepare us for the SEC. Is it too late to back out of that SEC contract?
Texas SEC wants to back out of Texas contract.
Yeah.
Big 12 about to kick Texas to the American Conference. Jeez. The only other notable one that I can think of is Brian Kelly going to LSU.
Yeah.
Which in his introductory conference today said he wanted to be able to coach the best players in the best conference. That's kind of a shot at Notre Dame.
Yes, it is.
I feel like you could get really good, some of the best players at Notre Dame. Just they're not in a conference, which that might have been the hold.
What I read on Kelly is he left Notre Dame in a really bad way. I don't know if you read that, but I saw it on Twitter. Basically, they had a meeting. He basically just told them, like, thank you guys for your time. I'm moving on, and then basically walked out.
God.
Which that is awful.
Yeah. It's been a week for coaches leaving.
Yes. And like I said, that was on Twitter, so I don't know the whole truth of that.
Right.
But that was from a pretty big
reliable source.
Sports reliable source who said that he basically just came in, walked in, thank you guys, and I'm moving on.
Right.
You feel for those kids.
Right.
And like all the kids that were coming to OU to be under Lincoln Riley, now they're all gone, you know.
I think that's all we had on college football. We'll talk real quick about MLB, then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, we've gone pretty long. It's been a good episode so far. Let's wrap it up real quick. The MLB free agency started. It might be also pausing in 3 hours.
Yeah, with the lockout.
Some of the more notable names that have signed before the possible lockout: Baez went to Detroit. Max Scherzer went to the Mets. Seager and Simeon both went to Texas.
Yes, sir.
You're a Texas fan. Gossman moved on to Toronto. Kluber to Tampa Bay, and Noah Syndergaard to the Angels. Notable names still out there. You have Correa still out there. Verlander re-signed with Houston, so he's not a free agent anymore. Obviously, there's still 2 months before spring training actually starts, so hopefully they can figure out the CBA and the union deal.
I feel like the hard part about that is if they don't come to an agreement tonight, everything is on pause. The players can't even go to the facilities. They can't practice. They can't do anything. No one can sign anyone. No one can trade anyone. Like literally the whole MLB is shut down until they get this agreement done. So hopefully they can get it done quickly because we're right in the middle of free agency as all these big name guys have been going to different teams and things like that. So
and I feel like that's different this year than recent years. You have so many guys signing early, where in the past years it dragged on. I feel like nothing would happen until January.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of like the fact that they're signing so early because it creates interest earlier on.
Yes, it does.
But they really need to figure out this agreement.
Yes, they do.
That way we don't have a shortened season.
About to be in a lockout. You don't want to lock out to draw out into the season, you know.
Right.
With the free agency being talked about, I am really hyped for the Rangers. As a Rangers fan, it's been rough the last 7-8 years. Really, we haven't been good since 2015 was the last time we made the playoffs, if I remember correctly. Yeah. 2016. So it's been about 5 years of terrible. So signing Seager and Simeon, arguably two of the best players at their position. So I'm really excited about that. The Rangers are trying to win now, and I expect some big name players to come to Texas. Even more moves to happen as free agency continues. For the Rangers, I think We need to address the bullpen. Everything else seems to be good. You good?
All right, Taylor's over here making faces at me.
No, you good.
Yeah.
I think the Rangers need to address the bullpen. If we could somehow pull off getting Clayton Kershaw to come to Texas, that'd be awesome. And there has been talks of Kershaw or like Sonny Gray making a trade with the Reds or something like that. So I think that's the next step for the Rangers if we want to contend in our division. We got to address the bullpen. So I'm hoping either Kershaw or Sonny Gray, some big name like that, will come to Texas.
Yeah, that'd help out a lot for you guys. Can't think of anything else we need to talk about in MLB up to this point. Talked about the lockout, notable free agent signings. Do you have anything else about that?
I think that's about it. That about wraps us up for the night.
All right, so I'm gonna need you to say "Sick and Bears" because I couldn't get you to say it a couple of weeks ago.
I don't want that to be said on a recording camera.
Just one time. Just one time.
Go Baylor, beat OSU. I'll say that.
That's good enough. I'll take it.
There you go.
So yeah, that's it for episode 15. Same time next week, probably same time. Adam, you got college break coming up, or not college break, Christmas break coming up.
Yep.
Probably get a couple episodes in the same room. Get back to that for a couple weeks.
Yep. That'll be good. We'll have coming up, we'll have college playoffs, bowl games, NFL playoffs, basketball heating up. I mean, the next couple months are going to be big time for sports and big time things to talk about on our podcast. So stay up to date with us.
Yeah, we'll start transitioning into college basketball too here in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Been a really good season so far. Gonzaga lost to Duke earlier this year.
And then Duke lost last night.
Yeah, to Ohio State. Baylor looking dominant again. Kansas lost recently to
Dayton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Mid-major Dayton beating Kansas.
Crazy.
Iowa State taking it away by storm right now. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on in college sports. Really
exciting times for sports for sure. But make sure to stay up to date with our episodes. We're going to be talking about some crazy stuff. Hit us up if you would like to come on the show and be a guest on the podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out our first 4 videos on SoundCloud at Talking Sports 19. Follow us on Twitter at Talking Sports 19. And I think that about wraps us up for this week.